My fiancé invited my sister, who sabotaged my career, to our wedding against my wishes. I canceled the wedding, and now my family is against me. I, 32 male, have been engaged to my fiancée, Sarah, 30 female, for about 6 months now. We've been together for 4 years, and we're planning to get married next month. However, some recent events have thrown everything into chaos. Some background: I have a younger sister, Emily, 29, who I haven't spoken to in over 8 years. Growing up, Emily and I never got along. Our parents always tried to force us to be close, but we just clashed constantly. She was extremely competitive and always trying to one-up me in everything. It started when we were kids. I remember when I was 10 and Emily was 7. I won a spelling bee at school, and my parents were so proud they took us out for ice cream to celebrate. Emily threw a fit in the ice cream shop, screaming that it wasn't fair and that she could spell better than me. She demanded that our parents quiz her right there in the shop to prove it. It was mortifying. As we got older, things only got worse. If I got an A on a test, she'd study for days to get an A. If I made the soccer team, she'd suddenly develop an interest in soccer and try out too. When I started dating in high school, Emily would try to flirt with any girl I was interested in. It was exhausting and made me dread coming home most days. Our parents tried to intervene, but nothing seemed to work. They sent us to family therapy when I was 16 and Emily was 13, but Emily refused to participate, just sitting silently through the sessions. The therapist eventually told our parents that she couldn't help if Emily wasn't willing to engage. Things came to a head when we were in our early 20s. I just graduated college and landed my dream job at a prestigious tech company. It was an incredible opportunity, great salary, amazing benefits, and a chance to work on cutting-edge projects. I was over the moon. Emily was still in college at the time, struggling to figure out her career path. She had changed majors 3 times already and was on academic probation. When I told my family about the job offer over dinner, Emily completely lost it. She started screaming at me, accusing me of always overshadowing her and ruining her life. She said things like, "You always have to be the golden child, don't you?" And, "Why don't you just die so I can finally have a chance to shine?" My parents tried to calm her down, but she was inconsolable. She stormed out of the house, slamming the door so hard a picture fell off the wall. Later that night, I overheard Emily on the phone with one of her friends, saying she was going to get revenge on me and knock me down a peg. I didn't think much of it at the time. Emily had always been dramatic and made empty threats when she was upset. But a few days later, as I was getting ready to start my new job, I got a call from HR saying they were rescinding the offer. Apparently, someone had sent them a bunch of fake emails from an account in my name filled with racist and sexist comments. There were also fake social media posts they'd been sent showing me saying horrible things. I was devastated and knew immediately it had to be Emily's doing. She was the only one who had the motive and who knew enough details about my new job to pull this off. When I confronted her, she denied it at first, but eventually broke down and admitted she had created the fake accounts to sabotage my job offer. She said she just wanted me to fail at something for once, and that she was tired of living in my shadow. She seemed almost proud of what she'd done, like she'd finally beaten me at something. I was furious and heartbroken that my own sister would do something so cruel. This wasn't just sibling rivalry anymore. She had actively tried to destroy my career and reputation. I told her I never wanted to see or speak to her again and moved out that same day. I crashed on a friend's couch for a few weeks while I figured out my next steps. In the 8 years since then, I've had 0 contact with Emily. My parents still see her occasionally, but they know better than to bring her up around me. It took a lot of work to rebuild my career after that setback. I had to take a much lower-paying job at first and slowly work my way back up. But I've worked hard to build a good life for myself. I now have a great career at another tech company, amazing friends, and, of course, Sarah. I met Sarah about 4 years ago through a mutual friend. We hit it off immediately. She was smart, funny, and incredibly kind. On our 3rd date, I opened up to her about the situation with Emily. Sarah was sympathetic and understanding, saying that family can be complicated and that she respected my decision to cut contact. When Sarah and I got engaged 6 months ago, I made it very clear that Emily was not to be invited to the wedding under any circumstances. Sarah seemed understanding at first, but as we got deeper into the wedding planning, she started pushing back. She kept saying things like, "But she's your sister," and "Don't you think it's time to forgive and move on?" I shut it down every time, telling Sarah this wasn't up for discussion. I explained that having Emily there would ruin what's supposed to be the happiest day of our lives. Just the thought of seeing her makes my stomach churn. Sarah would usually drop it after I explained, but I could tell she wasn't happy about it. Last week, Sarah and I had a huge fight about it. We were going over the guest list when she brought up Emily again. This time, she wouldn't let it go. She accused me of being stubborn and said I was punishing Emily for a mistake she made years ago. I tried explaining again how much Emily's betrayal had hurt me, but Sarah just wasn't getting it. She even had the nerve to suggest that maybe Emily had changed and deserved another chance. I asked her how she'd feel if someone had deliberately tried to ruin her career and reputation. Sarah said she'd be hurt too, but that family was too important to cut off forever. I lost my temper at that point. I told Sarah that Emily wasn't just family, she was someone who had tried to destroy my life out of pure jealousy and spite. I said that if Sarah couldn't respect my feelings on this, maybe we needed to rethink getting married. Sarah looked shocked. I don't think she expected me to push back so hard. I told her point blank that if she invited Emily behind my back, the wedding was off. Things have been tense between us ever since. Sarah's been giving me the cold shoulder and making passive-aggressive comments. Some of our mutual friends have taken her side, saying I'm being unreasonable and that weddings are about bringing families together. But they don't understand the depth of hurt and betrayal I've experienced. I love Sarah, and the thought of calling off the wedding breaks my heart. But I also can't imagine having to see Emily on what's supposed to be the happiest day of my life. Just thinking about her being there makes me feel sick to my stomach. So Reddit AETA for refusing to budge on this? Should I just give in to keep the peace or stand my ground, even if it means potentially losing Sarah? I'm really torn and could use some outside perspective. Update 1. It's been about a week since my original post, and a lot has happened. First, I want to thank everyone for their input and advice. Reading through the comments really helped me gain some clarity on the situation. The day after I made the post, Sarah and I had another big argument about Emily. She kept insisting that family is important and that I should at least consider inviting Emily to the wedding. I stood my ground and told her again that this was a firm boundary for me. Sarah then dropped a bombshell. She admitted that she had already reached out to Emily behind my back. Apparently, Sarah had found Emily on social media a few months ago and had been messaging her regularly. She claimed she just wanted to understand the situation better, but I felt completely betrayed. I asked Sarah point blank if she had already invited Emily to the wedding. She hesitated before admitting that yes, she had told Emily she was welcome to come. I was furious. I told Sarah that by going behind my back like this, she had broken my trust in a major way. She tried to defend herself, saying she thought she was doing the right thing, but I wasn't having it. I told her the wedding was off and asked her to move out of our apartment. Sarah was shocked. I don't think she expected me to actually follow through on canceling the wedding. She started crying and begging me to reconsider, saying she loved me and had only been trying to help. But for me, the trust was broken. I helped her pack up some essentials, and she's been staying with a friend for the past few days. In the meantime, I've been dealing with the fallout of canceling a wedding on short notice. Most of our friends and family have been understanding once I explained the situation, but Sarah's family is furious with me. Her mom called me a heartless monster for throwing away our relationship over petty sibling drama. Sarah's brother, who I used to be close with, sent me a long text telling me I was making the biggest mistake of my life. What's been hardest is that I truly do love Sarah. We've built a life together over the past 4 years, and I thought she was the one. We had so many plans for the future. We talked about buying a house next year, starting a family in a few years. Now all of that is gone. I've been replaying our relationship in my head, wondering if there were signs I missed. Sarah always knew how I felt about Emily, but she would occasionally make comments about how sad it was that we didn't speak. I always shut those conversations down quickly. Maybe if I had been more open to discussing it, things wouldn't have gotten to this point. But then I remind myself that Sarah knew how important this was to me and chose to disregard my feelings anyway. I've also had to deal with Emily trying to contact me. She sent me a long email apologizing for her past actions and saying she hopes we can reconcile. She wrote about how much she's changed, how she's been in therapy for years working on her issues. Part of me is curious to hear her out, but a bigger part knows that reopening that door would only lead to more pain. I haven't responded and don't plan to. My parents have been calling nonstop, begging me to reconsider. They say that this could be a chance for the whole family to heal, but they don't seem to understand how deep this hurt goes. They've always tried to downplay the rivalry between Emily and me, acting like it was just normal sibling stuff. But what Emily did went far, far beyond normal sibling rivalry. For now, I'm focusing on taking care of myself. I've thrown myself into work and have been spending a lot of time with friends. It's not easy. I keep expecting to see Sarah when I come home or wake up reaching for her in bed. But I know I made the right choice in standing up for myself. I deserve a partner who respects my boundaries and doesn't try to force a relationship with someone who hurt me so deeply. I'm not sure what the future holds. Part of me hopes that Sarah will realize how wrong she was and come apologize. But even if she did, I'm not sure I could trust her again. For now, I'm taking it one day at a time and trying to rebuild my life. Update 2. It's been about a month since my last update. Things have settled down somewhat, but there have been some new developments I wanted to share. Sarah moved the last of her things out of our apartment last week. It was a difficult day. We both got emotional as we said our final goodbyes. Despite everything, there's still a lot of love there, but I know ending things was the right call. Sarah admitted that she realizes now how wrong it was to go behind my back, but the trust has been broken. As she was leaving, Sarah told me that she hopes someday I'll be able to forgive both her and Emily. She said that holding on to anger only hurts me in the long run. I know she meant well, but it felt like she still wasn't really hearing me. This isn't about anger or holding grudges. It's about protecting myself from people who have hurt me deeply. I've had to block Emily's number and email address. After my last update, she started bombarding me with messages. Some were apologetic, others were angry and accusatory. In one particularly nasty email, she said that I was punishing everyone else for my own inability to move on. It was clear she still hasn't dealt with her own issues. I feel confident in my decision to keep her out of my life. The hardest part has been dealing with my parents. They're upset that I canceled the wedding and keep trying to convince me to reconcile with both Sarah and Emily. Last weekend, they invited me over for dinner. When I got there, I found out they had invited Emily too, hoping to force a reconciliation. I left immediately and haven't spoken to them since. I'm hurt that my parents would ambush me like that. They know how I feel about the situation with Emily, yet they chose to disregard my feelings completely. It's bringing up a lot of old resentments about how they handled things when we were kids. They always tried to force us to get along instead of addressing the real issues. On a more positive note, I've started seeing someone new. It's very casual right now, but it feels good to be moving forward. Her name is Rachel, and we met at a friend's barbecue. She knows about my family situation and has been really understanding and supportive. It's refreshing to be with someone who respects my boundaries without question. I'm also throwing myself into new hobbies and interests. I've taken up rock climbing and have been going to the gym 3 to 4 times a week. It's a great way to work out my frustrations and clear my head. I've also been learning to cook. I realized I had relied on Sarah for most of our meals and needed to learn to fend for myself. It's been fun experimenting with new recipes and techniques. Work has been a good distraction too. I've taken on some new projects that are challenging but rewarding. My boss has been really understanding about everything and has given me some flexibility with my schedule as I deal with all of this. I still have moments where I miss Sarah and our life together. The other day, I came across an old photo of us on vacation last year. For a moment, I was tempted to call her, but then I reminded myself why things ended and why it's better this way. As for Emily, I still have no desire to reconcile. Some people have suggested that I should at least hear her out, see if she's really changed. But I'm not willing to risk opening myself up to that pain again. Maybe someday, far in the future, I'll feel differently, but for now, I'm at peace with my decision. Overall, while this has been an incredibly difficult time, I feel like I'm coming out the other side stronger. I'm proud of myself for standing my ground and not compromising on my principles. I know there will still be tough days ahead, but I'm cautiously optimistic about the future.